Oh, yeah, there it is. We're live. Whoa, breakfast with the box, inside the box, all right here on the damn BCX. Hey, welcome in. It is Thursday, December 12th, 2024. You're looking at BC, the American Alpha, the proprietor of this here channel, and you're looking to my left at the best mustache in boxing. I mean, that might be a distinction. You and Richard Torres Jr. are tied. Hey, that's Rafe Bartholomew, the New York Times high-selling author. Rafe, we're not only back with a bang, we're live. So if you decide to show your pipe or urinate into a travel mug, the rest of the people are going to see it. How the heck are you on this Thursday morning?
Well, I'm doing well. I tried to urinate before we went live, but I can't make any promises here. I guess what we can ask the viewers, what I can also ask you, Brian, is if I have to let it go, should I use the mute button or not? What if I'm in the middle of making the greatest point I've ever made in my boxing commentating career?
How important is the cough button? That's the question, right? Is it going to cover all sins, including urination? Hey, we've got a
I call it the Tubin button, but you know.
We've got a oh wait, hold on. Good old Dixon cider wants a shout out. How about that? You know what I mean? Ain't no cider like a Dixon cider. I wanted to say thank you everyone for joining us live right here. We're gonna have a fantastic show today. Nobody else puts both hands inside the box. Who else, right? Who else is going to give it to you like they give it to you here on Inside the Box? So thank you. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already joined this channel. There's a lot of weird stuff. I mean, Rafe, what would you describe? How would you describe the content that comes out of this channel? Would it be as easy to say, I don't know, I never watch it? I mean, what would you say?
Well, no, I watch some of it. I catch some of the Campbell's rambles. I like to call it Campbell's shambles, but it is what it is. No, Brian,
Wow.
it is. This site is very well named. It really is the Brian Campbell experience. As someone who has known you for a pretty long time, I've gotten pretty deep inside Brian Campbell's box, you could say, figuratively speaking.
Yeah, platonically. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You know, we were once asked at a boxing event, are you guys best friends or something? And then we were immediately like, no, that's disgusting. Absolutely not. No, we just work together. Anyway, so I know you a little well, and this is the BC experience. I mean, all your weird interests. I was a little disappointed to see you talking about a yacht rock documentary that, as far as I know, doesn't exist. But you know, it is the kind of music your ass listens to. So I'm looking forward.
Are you calling me a honky? Is that what's
I'm looking forward to deep breakdowns of the third base discography.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Prime Minister Pete Nice is out there and would not be that difficult of a get for the BCX. And if you do talk to him, spend most of that time talking about his high school basketball career, because Pete Nice was nice with the pill. I mean, he played on an Empire State Games team with Dwayne Pearl Washington. This guy, he can hoop.
For real?
Yes. There's some good non-hip hop stuff to Pete Nice. Anyway, yeah, this is you, man. It's weird, but look at just the people like it, and you know they started seeing that at MK, right? And they need some more.
We've heard from Tyson Fury that once a man swallows, he never goes back. You jacked, obviously from our Richard Dwyer sit down. You know, so many years in the making. If I can produce Prime Minister Pete Nice or what was the other white guy in that group? Why is it
MC Search?
Yeah, MC Search.
Searchlight Productions.
Good Lord. If I was one of those great honkies, would hear it? No? Yeah?
I'm guessing you said, would I be hyped for those interviews? Hell yes. Especially the Pete Nice one. But I mean, the Search one, why not? If you could get Search on here, I think he's a bigger name still, or at least he went on to a pretty important producing career. He put out Illmatic. I mean, that was a long time ago, but to people like us, we still care. Anyway, man, you know, yeah, those are good interviews. I'd be down. And plus, you get weird. You get weird with people, and then sometimes they get weird with you.
I've been getting weird with people from the beginning. Okay. All right. You included. Speaking of New York and hip hop, I'd love to let you chime in on Big Hove's issues, Jay-Z and Beyonce at the moment. You know what I mean? We thought it was just Diddy and R. Kelly, but
Who
now
thought it was just Diddy? How could you think it? Like they were hugely important people in the music industry. You think nobody ever saw anything or was around? I guess, like, what are you really supposed to do, Brian? What do you? I don't know how deep they got inside of Diddy's box. Hopefully not. Hopefully not more than one lube bottle deep. That's all. That I think that is a respectable limit.
Wow! Shout out to that guy for supporting the show. Please, Eric. Let me pour some water on your balls. Thank you.
Cool him
very
down.
much.
Pour water on his testicles.
Yeah, I mean that's a gross industry, much grosser than even the box. So
you know that for sure. Thankfully, boxing people are not quite so high profile, and plus they exist under the boxing exemption, right? Where polite society honestly doesn't care. Are you? Wait. Oh, okay. Are we? Okay. Let's go through some recent huge hits in the boxing world. And I'm not talking about. I'm talking about Felix Verdejo. This is a little further back, but of course, our man from Venezuela who had
Edwin Valero.
Yes,
yeah.
Motorcycle Edwin.
The Benoit of boxing. Yeah, we don't talk about these guys anymore, or Arturo Gotti's late mistress. All right, enough weird stuff.
My friend Daniel, whatever is going on behind the scenes when Turkey travels out of the country and visits places where he can get a little more done and get his hands in the box a little bit. I don't know. Boxing, I'm just saying. But no one cares because it's boxing. It's all right. You sort of get that extra level of society just being like, look, man, this is just a whole nother world and it ain't worth getting into, because it's like Nick Cage in the movie 8mm diving into the snuff porn world, right? It's like, look, man, you don't want to go in there because it's going to change you. Then you're not, and when you come out, that world is still going to be there and it's not going to change, and you're just going to be a shadow of yourself, a shell of the man you once were.
Thank you very much.
Boxing.
I think I still am. We've got a great show for you today. Looking back at the weekend, big wins for Emmanuel Navarrete, Rafael Espinoza. How about Hitchens, Richardson Hitchens claiming a world title? We'll look ahead to the weekend that comes to find out if Rafe Bugs cares. Spoiler alert, I don't think he will. Also, we'll look at Eddie Hearn going ham. How about some Boots tail rumors? And we'll talk a little bit of Turkey. I was going to try to, now that we're live today, we're trying this experiment out. I was going to try to build a get inside Bugs question segment later, but people are already jumping in. That guy wants to know, Rafe, is Oscar a freak? Okay. All right. This is an important question.
Our man, Watch Daniel Gill said it, and those were his words. He said Oscar was a freak. And yes, again, this is one of those things. Oscar is pretty open about his freak, right? I mean, he's out that dumb song that was on social media over the summer, like nobody gonna match my freak. That could have been Oscar. He could do a walkout to that, and the women paying for that pay-per-view, those pay-per-view paying womans would have been lapping it up. And I'm sure some did lap up some of what Oscar was serving back then. And until to this day, Brian, Oscar is a freak.
Yes, that woman judge, please, right? Please. That's why I'm upset. Before we kick off the show and get deep inside the topics, what is new in Michigan? Let's talk math. Let's talk boxing. Let's talk Bugs. How the hell are you this holiday season?
It's cold, man. We're getting a real winter out here in the Midwest. We've had 2 lake effect little snows, and I'm lucky being in Southeast Michigan, where we're only getting a few inches of snow. On the other side of the state, they're talking about feet. I do not want that smoke. I do not want that ice. I do not want that song of fire or ice. I'm trying to just, get through mildly on my own.
Okay. All right. I don't want that storm system. I don't care about its family. I just don't. All right. Well, how would you say you have adjusted to getting back in the box? Do you get excited as we head into these big weekend fights to get your reaction? Because it's been needed, Rafe. People are talking on the streets. They can't believe that you walked out of your self-induced boxing coma with the hard to kill Seagal beard intact above your upper lip, and you just have returned like you haven't skipped a beat in 4 years.
Well, if it actually looks that way, if people actually think that, then I want to give myself a round of applause, because I'm washed. I bottled it. I swallowed on the box, and I don't know if I've come back all the way. I've come back all the way to the BCX, and I'm doing what I need to do to keep up. I'm like the teacher who is one chapter ahead of the class, and probably not even that, since most of the boxing class knows the sport pretty damn well. But, you know, we've been inside the world. We have our stories. We have our thing. We got this thing of ours, Brian, that is very special. And it works. And no, it's fun to watch the fights. I usually don't watch them live because I'm too lazy and too tired. I live on the East Coast now. I got spoiled living on the West Coast, covering boxing out there. It sucks out here, man. It's hard. Oh, I don't live on the East Coast, but I live on Eastern time.
I can't believe Detroit's in the Eastern time zone. That makes no sense to me.
We're right where it ends. I mean, then there's Indiana doing whatever the hell Indiana does, right? Half the state follows it. Half the state
don't care. Right, but nothing good come out of that state since Larry Bird. All right.
That can't be true.
It can. Thank you though for keeping the love alive, for resparking. I mean, now that we found love again, what are we gonna do, right? Yeah, with this now.
Now that's what I call music, Brian.
That is what I call music. All right, BC, would you rather have turkey or Dana at your Christmas dinner? How about neither? Okay, shout out to Caitlin.
She didn't come out, and she came out of Iowa.
Yeah, you better recognize. I mean, where's she from though?
McAfee came. No, he came from Pittsburgh. They're all just in Indianapolis now. I don't know.
Yeah. Some people believe though the impact you're already making in Michigan is big, right? You're the Kronk Gym of South Michigan, but somebody better get their direction.
I think they call it the Honk Gym.
Yeah, there you go, big honk. That's about all for the touch and go part of the show. Let's get. Actually, unless people have any more questions, burning questions that they need to get Rafe's answer. Oh, one more from that guy, Rafe. All right, well, let's please the people. In honor, by the way, of Emmanuel Navarrete adding the Winchell sponsorship right above his dong on his trunks. What is your favorite philo? Is that the correct pronunciation of that term?
So I am guessing by the spelling of favorite and the use of philo that commenting guy,
yes, that guy
is from down under. This bloke may be Australian, because from what I've heard, Australian Filipinos often refer to their community as the Filos, which here it's people say Philam. You do not hear Philo, but there it is. Anyway, my favorite Philippine dish is people are usually surprised because it's not one of the showstoppers. It's not kare-kare. It's not the
like
all-time classic adobo. It is ginisang munggo, which is just like a simple stew of green mung beans with usually some pork in the bottom. Yeah. Oi.
I mean, who don't love pork in the bottom? You know what I'm talking about, right?
A little junk in the trunk.
Yes, indeed. All right. Yeah.
And
did Philos wear filas, or was that just Riddick Bowe in the 90s?
Did he wear filas?
Yo, he represented. He was a spokesman for
more than Grant Hill.
More than Grant Hill. Grant Hill drinks Sprite. Okay, enough 90s references. Not overturned. All right, enough about your life. I don't care. I care about the box. Let's get into it. We had 2 cards of note over the weekend. And let's go to DAZN first. It was in Puerto Rico, and it was a 140-pound IBF championship bout as Liam Paro, who is from Down Under, just like that guy, and upset in the PR, Subriel Mateus, to win that world title, made his first title defense, but he didn't come home with the belt. Richardson Hitchens, who on his trunk line put his last name with a dash in the middle. How inventive is that? So it says Hitchens, went out there and hit a few of them, taking home a split decision victory that probably should have been unanimous. But then we saw as wild a championship winning celebration maybe since the days of Ishe Smith just leaking all over the ring, right? Did you see Hitchens do the Maury Povich, you're not the father dance afterwards? How would you sum up, on the impressive meter, what you saw out of Dickie Hitchens on Saturday?
We're going with Dickie Hitchens? That's a good name.
Yeah.
He was impressive, I thought. Just, yes, the way that he adjusted mid-fight, after his trainer, I think, got in that ass a little bit and said, it's time to, you better fucking not get inside on him, but you better fucking get a little more aggressive. keep him, close that front door a little bit. And that's exactly what I think Hitchens did. I thought the way that he controlled distance through that, last 2/3 of the fight that he really controlled was beautiful. I mean, it was a clinic, and it was simple boxing, but when you have the athletic ability to turn and pivot on the back foot like that, maintain that distance, stay basically in the middle of the ring. He wasn't running. And just anytime Paro tries to come in and close it and get to work, whap, whap, the straight right, he was dialed in with it. And you saw the way that Paro's eye was closing by the end of that fight. I thought it was really impressive boxing. I don't know that it was spectacular. I don't know that, but it's the kind that shows that he's the kind of that, Dickie Hitchens is the kind of fighter who is going to perform well against championship level opposition. And I want to see him against whoever he can get in the title mix at 140 pounds.
You're damn right. And luckily for him, that's, arguably the most exciting division right now in terms of the big stars that are in and around. And at 27 years old, the Manhattanite, born in Brooklyn, resides in Manhattan, maybe a reverse of yourself being from that island.
I would not look as someone who grew up in New York, even though I have a lot of love for Brooklyn, I've been back and forth over my life, of course. I can't be I can't be one of those people who moves, who gets a media job and moves to Brooklyn. I have a Paulie Malignaggi type dislike or distaste for what has become of parts of my city, most of which has happened in Brooklyn. And
does that mean you're willing to sleep with most of your city?
People I know,
what athletes do.
People I grew up with who haven't been priced out of the city, which is like 3 people at this point in my life.
Yeah.
They move. Who I grew up with, they all moved to Queens because that's the part of New York that feels to us most like the New York we grew up in.
In my Wednesday live chat, by the way, speaking of the third member of our team, Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, he's been called the Rolly Romero of the feline world. Would you agree with that? Because I already have.
Has he been caught in any DMs with underage women?
Oh, how dare you? That was alleged. Okay, that was alleged.
Didn't it almost go to court?
Almost. He lost the first tank fight because of that, but he got it back after charges were dropped.
That's how charming Reggie Rolly Romero is.
Well, he went on that New York side turn to say, look, Richardson Hitchens, who, was a promising amateur, was at one point a Floyd Mayweather guy, 19-0, 7 KOs. He finally has his moment. And I really think you nailed, a little bit of a slow start against the South. Is Paro's a southpaw, correct?
Yes.
I watched that correctly, right? But once he was able to control distance and line up that 1-2, dude, that right arm almost had like go-go gadget qualities. It's like no matter the distance, he was able to routinely tag Paro with it, and he stuck to the basics, and he got the job done. Dude, it was an impressive win. Now, it may have come over a guy who just pulled a big upset over a guy, but, dude, hey, that guy out there, cover your ears. We have a history of not believing in the Aussie blokes in the boxing game. Am I wrong, right? Am I wrong? So to see that guy break through, beat Matthias like he did, dude, this is an absolutely legit win for Richardson Hitchens. And, in some ways he kind of needed it. He showed us that flash and that promise for a while, but hadn't had that true breakthrough moment. Dude, he earned this. I want to see him against all the 140 names now.
Yeah, absolutely. He had been one of these. He'd been one of these prospects who we'd seen look good. We'd seen have some down performances. Right, he struggled with weight in his last fight before this one, and this was you might as well call it a breakout performance. He was not, he didn't light the world on fire with it, but he won a belt. He beat a guy who had to have been coming in at the height of his confidence, looking like he was very game, wanted to make more of Liam Paro clearly wanted to make more of a fight out of that than it ended up being. And he started off pretty hot. So to see Hitchens do all of those, respond to all of those challenges, even if Paro ends up having a Cambosos-like Aussie run where it's like, well, he might have caught a guy on an off night, got a belt, but Aussies usually don't. Also, one thing, their game, they don't give fights away, right? You do have to beat them. You do have to make Jeff Hearn go away. They do have a little of that hard man, tough gang member in them.
Yes. I mean, before Wash Gill was washed, that guy wasn't. I mean, Darren Barker had to crawl through hell to take that title from him.
Let me ask you a question. Whoa, my mic. let me
All
ask
you
you a
need is
question.
one mic, Nas, all right?
It may be gone now. What do you think about that body shot that Darren Barker got up from in that fight, Brian?
I mean, to quote a freak, hashtag what a beauty body. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely great shot.
You got to give me the line.
What? Dwight Ritchie?
You've been saying it forever. It was my favorite BC line back in the day.
What is it?
No business getting up from that body shot. He had no business. Darren Barker had no business getting up.
Sorry. Neither did Dwight Ritchie. So RIP to him as well. All right, there you go. Hey, look, the questions keep pouring in the comments. That guy is saying, look, have you heard, like Michael McDonald? Speaking of yacht rock, have you heard that before from people that they think you are of a persuasion?
I have heard it. I'm surprised when I hear it. I kind of understand that some inflections that I speak with, having grown up, at a certain time and place in New York, playing basketball fairly competitively when I was young, being around a mixed crowd, whatever.
I mean, you set picks for Smush Parker. That happened.
I did that. I did a lot of that. And they in many ways were the best days of my life back when we were 12 and 13, rampaging through the Parks Department tournaments, playing at St. Nick's. They were, and so the other thing I
that
hear,
shower scene in Basketball Diaries was inspired by your journey.
No,
right?
No, definitely not. We were definitely more inspired by Above the Rim and those movies.
Dunking
Sunset
on an 8-foot hoop wearing corduroys. Yes, indeed.
That was my dream.
Well, Rafe, not African American, especially not. Yeah, especially not down below. Wow, that was an unnecessary return to Conor McGregor's awful comment from that Brooklyn stop on the Floyd press tour. All right, back to Richardson Hitchens here. So he gets the win. It's a breakthrough. Paro will still be around. Look, he's a tough out, but I hope these 140 champions start fighting each other. What do you think about that?
I would love that to happen. Who knows? Look, I think there is some risk that Richardson Hitchens does not immediately get the biggest fights in that weight class, or maybe he does if other big fights fall through. But you could see whether it's is Tank Davis 135 or 140 pounds now. I guess it depends.
Still 35. He's got a belt there.
Yeah. Teofimo Lopez, you already mentioned, he looks huge right now. I saw some footage of him this week, and there's talk of him moving up to 147 pounds. Who knows what's going to happen when Ryan Garcia comes back. Devin Haney is a belt holder. We're still waiting for him to come back after that no contest hashtag in parentheses loss that he suffered to a psychotic break PED user.
Wow.
Is that incorrect?
No, but I'm going to tell him you said that when I go to Tokyo for his fight against the kickboxer. All right.
Well, I think that's going to be awesome. And I want the fight to happen now, and I want you to be there.
Thank you.
You could see those big names looking at Richardson Hitchens and thinking, a belt would be nice, or to get another belt, or in Ryan Garcia's case, to win a belt for the first time in his career would be nice. But Hitchenson's doesn't offer a great risk reward, right? You can see why he's going to be a tough night for anyone. He's going to be hard to look good against, and if he uses his length and his speed and his sort of boxing ability, he has his A game is very hard to get past. He might not have the adjustments yet. Maybe he does. He hasn't shown it. He might not have, as many dimensions or a standout skill like some of the big names at 140 pounds. But that just getting past his ability to control distance and win with a laser sharp 1-2, that might not be something big name fighters want to deal with. Because even if say it is a slow fight, they manage to win a close decision, they come out, it becomes one of those forget about looking good, just win type nights.
I'm with you on that. It is going to be hard to beat a, in his prime, technical, pure boxer. And that's certainly what he brings to the table right there. On that undercard, now I don't want you to necessarily respond to fights that were on that undercard.
This was the IBF, right? I'm sorry.
This was.
So that means Richardson Hitchens is going to have his hands full with, like every, jabroni from from Germany for the next.
Every guy you've never heard of who hasn't beaten anybody, who came from a country you never heard of, and his promoter definitely didn't pay the sanctioning body to get that ranking. That's obviously who he's fighting next.
But the IBF is the most legit because they follow their rankings, Brian. They follow their rankings.
For better or worse. Yeah, for better or worse. On the undercard,
rankings made by a blind, trying not to say anything really offensive, poorly made rankings, perhaps.
Perhaps there's been a 30-year history of that. Perhaps there's been hidden camera footage of people paying the sanctioning bodies, yet we all just keep going forward like nothing happened. On the undercard, though, Rafe, Eddie Hearn, once again, this was a Matchroom sport card, once again got his prospects, and particularly his American prospects, beat by putting them in tough fights. Now, it's happened before. In fact, Eddie has been clapped back a few times on Thursdays by that freak Oscar, sort of pointing this out, that, you know, really ever since Riad season started, not only has Eddie Hearn's fighters been getting smoked by Frank Warren in head-to-heads, but there's this developing theme that Eddie Hearn, who has done a very good job, in my opinion, in the last 18 months, acquiring young American talent, maybe is putting them in too tough, too early, and you had a lot of people hitting the Twitter fingers to say that. So naturally, old Eddie, 6'7" of him, waistcoat, excuse me, he had a clapback. Before we hear his clapback, would you agree with that trend? Is that what you think has been happening lately?
Well, Brian, for me, especially, look, I am a fan of the back and forth, the rivalry between Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn, because they both have a pretty good sense of humor about it. Sometimes you can see they're taking it seriously. Obviously, Oscar, that freak, may have crossed the line with some recent comments when he's looking up, look up to the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. Oh, it's Eddie Hearn with. But anyway. Yeah, I think, but their back and forth, their rivalry it builds them both up. It builds up their personal profiles. Hopefully that trickles down to their actual fighters a little bit as well. It's good entertainment. It's funny, though, that Oscar is the one of the big voices leading this charge because about Eddie Hearn getting his prospects beat. Because a few years ago, isn't that what everyone was criticizing Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya for? The same exact thing. Rocky Hernandez lost that fight, and a lot of Golden Boy prospects were coming up and losing, perhaps being moved too fast, perhaps not, but they were also getting beat. So I think this is just boxing, and right. I think the difference, one big difference, and this is something we're still adjusting to, is because all sports, all news is covered 24/7, 365 now. Yeah. Prospects are built up and get a profile in ways that they didn't when we were coming up watching the sport. Basically, the most we'd hear about a prospect is what we'd hear watching Friday night fights or Showbox, and by the point in time that those young fighters reached that point, they had already sort of proven themselves. They were usually fighting in those classic Showbox 12-0 versus 11-0 matchups where somebody's always got to go, and this is where we find out which prospect is the real deal and about to move on to a contender. That now we're hearing Mark Castro since the day he signed, all these former Olympians, and a lot of those former Olympians pan out to be championship level fighters. More of them, just by simple, fact of numbers, more of them do not. And so it's more of the way that we consume boxing news and learn about fighters from the very beginning of their careers, and the way the publicity machine starts hyping them from the beginning of their careers. I knew about Mark Castro from before I'd seen him fight his first round of professional boxing. I was told he was, the shit. Apparently he was not. He never looked that great. He looked all right. To me, he was the guy who looked like Elon Musk. He had that big giant smile. Does he have veneers at 20 years old? What is going on? Yeah. Anyway, he got some good chompers on him, but that was pretty much the most notable thing. I think the point I'm making, Brian,
I think you should finish. Yeah.
We're learning about these fighters very early in their careers, and they're getting hyped up because that's what promoters have to do for them. But they're still going to fail at about the same rates that prospects have always failed, and sometimes prospects fail.
Also, it's a new season in boxing where we ain't doing the soft matchmaking for as long anymore. Okay. Not with turkey's money around. Like, some people have said, and it's true. You get involved in Riad season, you're going to get matched tough. Like, it's going to happen. So it's a new dawn. It's a new age. And IFL caught up with old Eddie. Let's listen in as he goes ham in response.
A couple of DMs, like actually round from there's a guy called Junior Union, who's like 22-0, never boxed anyone in his life, right? Going, oh, Eddie Hearn gets a prospect beat. Fuck off. If you can't beat those guys, you're not the fighter that I thought you are. And if you lose tonight, it's not the end of the road for you. You've got to rebuild and you've got to come back better. Like, if you don't want to watch competitive fights, if you don't want to see prospects tested just a little bit when they're 8-1 on, fuck off and don't watch my shows, because I'm going to give you real fights and I'm going to give you entertainment. And guess what? Sometimes when people underperform or they're not good enough, they're going to lose. Not every prospect is going to go on and be a world champion. But if you spoon feed them and never put them in anything competitive, one, it's a shit product. Two, it's a con for the fans. And three, you're not doing the right job for the fighter, because when they get to the top, they're not going to be good enough. Do you know what I'm saying? J-Rock, whatever his name is, or what is it?
Yeah,
Julian Williams. Same thing. Oh, bad night for Eddie Hearn. He got 2 prospects. Not really. Eddie Hearn found out that tonight they ain't good enough. Oh, that's a bit harsh. Mate, you want me to keep it real with you? Mark Castro, you were not good enough tonight. If you perform like that, you are not going to be a world champion or reach that level. Jalil Hackett, if you don't make weight professionally, you are not going to beat guys like that who you should be strolling through. Facts. Grow a fucking set and stop fucking mincing around the subject and be real with people. Sport. You get beat when you're not good enough. You know what I'm saying? You don't just make matchups that are shit. Where you
Eddie would continue that, but dude, spot on, right? Spark out 80K. Wembley. No, sorry, that was Frotch's bit. Dude, he nailed it. Maybe these guys aren't good enough. And you know what? I want to live in a world where guys have to earn it and get tested. And if you take an L, I want to live in a world where it doesn't kill you. Speaking of Julian Williams, who happened to be the one who called out Eddie that he was responding to, J-Rock took that early L against Charlo and we all counted him out. But then guess what? He put the big boy pants back on, walked down Swift Herd, and showed us what it's all about. Dude, this is boxing. Yes, there are people like Top Rank who know how to match people perfectly, but there's just as many other matchmakers and promoters who don't and get their guys set up to fail because they don't fight anybody before they get to the title level. This is the boxing world I want to live in. Dude, Eddie's not perfect, but this is a refreshing take.
And so here's what I would like to see Eddie Hearn and Matchroom do going forward, is actually live up to that ideal of boxing that commentators, that the media has been crying for years, pretty much as long as I've seriously covered and followed the sport. And that's, an undefeated record should not be the only thing that matters for a fighter's popularity, for his marketability, for his earning potential. Because if it is, then no one's ever going to take any risks. So if Eddie Hearn is serious about sport, facts, mate, then keep building. If give Mark Castro another shot, rebuild him, let him do what he needs to do to get his confidence back. Right, he doesn't have to get thrown right back into the fire, but if he wants to, and he's give him a shot at that too. But don't cut strings with these fighters who you invested in after they were bad on one night. Let's see, and that's for Eddie Hearn because he's making this impassioned statement. But also the rest of the sport, it applies to as well. If they actually stick to this for a few years, time moves fast, right? Fans update reload their what is the word I'm looking for?
Refractory period.
Well, I reload and boom,
yeah,
pop, ready to go. But yeah, they update their software real fast. They're downloading. They're like Loma in the first round, downloading. So by the second round, software update, we're ready. And so let's update the boxing fan software and have them let's create a boxing ecosystem where fighters get matched tough, win and lose, come back, continue to have good careers and be in good fights and get paid well or get paid what they deserve for their efforts. And fans will accept that, and probably because it sounds like it'll be a better product.
You're damn right, dude. You're speaking it, okay? And shout out, by the way, to Nathan Timblin for supporting what we're doing here inside the damn box. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm into that. I'm into everything that you're saying right there. I'm into what Eddie's saying. And maybe he's extra spicy because of all the stuff going on publicly and the clapbacking between the Cheeks clapping and maybe Oscar clapbacking, but he's also right. You look like you're about to say something nefarious.
Yeah, well, Eddie knows this. He's a takesman, right? He loves being out there online. Can't look mad, Eddie, and you look pretty mad there.
Ooh.
Like everyone, it doesn't matter that his message was pretty much on point throughout that. He looked mad, and you don't really see him rattled ever, right? I mean, he's pretty smooth even after AJ gets beat, I guess because he's seen it happen so many times now. But he keeps his composure well in those tough situations. He looked a little mad to me.
Yeah, look mad. Don't go away mad. Just go away, Eddie. There you go. Let's keep it going, by the way. Okay. Yeah, you can see any type of people on the street. Wow, that in Australia just bumped into that Thailand guy. 2 Mexican guys had a great foundation platform to continue their rivalry on Saturday, and it was a top-ranked doubleheader from Phoenix, Arizona. In the main event, a rematch of a 130-pound title bout matching Emmanuel Navarrete against Oscar Valdez. We know the first time Navarrete won a comfortable decision that was a fight of the year candidate as he battled through a hurt hand, as Valdez battled through a closed right eye. The rematch did not live up to our expectations because they turned out to be 2 different fighters in there. And you know what? The information we didn't necessarily have coming in, or maybe it was out there and I was just ignorant to it, was that Navarrete framed the 2-fight skid he had coming into this fight, which was the draw against Robson Conceição and that loss at lightweight to Dennis Berinchik, moving up to try to fight for the vacant title. He said, look, I had a left hand injury. By the way, Canelo said that same thing when he looked flat against John Ryder, against Gennady in the 3rd fight, etc. And you know what? I think he was actually right. When Navarrete was fully healthy, you saw what he did against a 33-year-old Oscar Valdez, dropping him 3 times, stopping him in the 6th round. Rafe, this was impressive as shit. And Valdez would say afterwards, he is what he is. He's awkward. I couldn't see the punches coming. I did not expect it was going to be one-way traffic like that.
No, I mean, it's always a possibility. And these later career veteran, almost crossroad matches, like this one felt like it could be, where sometimes they live up to the occasion. Both fighters have their moments and it's back and forth. This one was certainly one-way traffic. And it was, look, I didn't see pictures of Oscar Valdez hanging out in a hotel with his boys from Denver during fight week.
Alvarado style, the 303, yeah.
And his performance was not as bad as, I mean, not even close to what Mike Alvarado did in his 3rd fight with Brandon Rios. But the dominating nature of the night was similar for Navarrete, where it was just these were fighters who once looked like they were on a similar trajectory, and we realized one still has it and the other should probably finish. You don't think he should finish? Fine.
Well, I was surprised that Grandpa came out and said, I love him. Bob Arum came out and basically said, I love him so much, I hope he does finish for his sake.
It's too harsh. No.
I mean, he only has 3 losses, 2 of them to Navarrete.
But we said this last week. Valdez has been in a war almost every time he's fought. And that has made him a really entertaining fighter. And he was game. I mean, he was landing some great right hands early against Navarrete too, but they weren't enough to keep that buzzsaw from moving forward. And he just eventually broke down against it.
Do we not love and respect Navarrete like we should? Like, I love that all 4 fighters on the main that were featured in these 2 title bouts came in classic old cars. You had Navarrete coming in with the with the bouncer.
Hydraulics.
It looked great when he comes out with the cowboy hat. Dude, he is a cowboy in that ring. I love that man. And I don't know if I realized it throughout the journey, how badass and fun and unique he is. You know, I saw Paulie Malignaggi talking about it. He's a rule breaker from the standpoint that he does things that are, you know, technically not advised. But when you have the awkwardness, the long arms, the high pressure style, he's also very accurate with a lot of weird angled shots. Dude, I got to take my cowboy hat off to him. He's a true warrior. He's got balls. He's won titles in many divisions. And I don't think we ever big him up enough.
I think that is true to some extent, Brian, but also the other problem here is that Navarrete does not always look like that version of himself. He fights that style always, but he's not always as sharp or as active. And sometimes he clearly is just a little more lethargic in the ring and so he has had nights where it looks like he wasn't at his very best, and he just is, you know, he does enough to win against, but not look great against fighters who you expected him to blow out, like he ended up doing to Valdez. And he gets the extra bump this time because it was more of a surprise. We thought, you know, we still held Oscar Valdez in high enough esteem to think that this would have been a more competitive fight, and to see Navarrete come in and look like he was putting on one of his best ever performances, that made it even more impressive. And yeah, so give him his propers for that. But there's also, if you go back and rewatch all those fights, there are some nights in the middle there where it's like, all right, you know, this guy's tough to beat, but he also looks like, you know, he just woke up, 30 seconds before the fight, and then they rolled him out there. You know, he's not. You don't always get the best of him, and I hope that's not always true. I hope that we do get the best of him from now on. I also think that fighting at 130 pounds, he looked. His body looked better at that weight than it had before. I think it was in the weird way that maybe trying to go up too far to 135 pounds and not, you know, and losing to Baranchyk in that title fight, coming back down to 130, it looked like he'd filled out more at that weight, and but also helped that he was fighting another career 126 pounder in Oscar Valdez.
I would not be uninterested though if Navarrete decided to go up to 35 again and try it, now fully healthy. And look, he looks like he's still got it. And if this is the end, I don't know if it should be the full end for Valdez. Like, how about take a year, do the whole boxing thing, take a year off, act like you might not fight again, but then maybe you wake up one morning and that desire's back. It doesn't have to be on the world title level against killers. I don't know. I mean, how much, you know, should we pull from that stone? How much more could we ask of that man? He could walk away right now if he wants to, but 33 is young though, dude. I know the mileage on him, but
for a lower weight class, it's not that young.
Yeah, I guess.
And also he's, I guess, to what end? I guess if he needs the money or has a competitive fire burning in him that he still needs to test, go for it. Or if it's just, you know, he loves to do it as long as he feels healthy and can get through a fight, get through training camp, all that stuff, go for it. But you can see where his career is headed from here. He's a name opponent that's going to get fed to prospects, and unless he you know, surprises one of those prospects by beating them, he's just going to go down that chain until there's not much left.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on there. So we thought that the co-main and look, it was a well-matched card. The co-main and main were rematches of very good first fights with a lot of potential to create new chapters in these rivalries. But surprisingly, both fights turned out to be dominantly one-sided. Now, in that co-main event, Rafael Espinoza last December shocked the world. We never heard of this Mexican guy until he walked in there and rallied to drop Robeisy Ramirez in the 12th round, take that dramatic upset win. The rematch really went all the way of Espinoza, and in the 5th round, when he landed what seemed to be a pedestrian right hand, suddenly you see a no mas situation from Rafael Espinoza. And what you're seeing was Twitter and X call him a quitter, jump on, you know, this 2-time Olympic gold medalist's reputation and toughness, and just rip him. I mean, Joe Tess and Tim Bradley were taking him to the woodshed. And then Carl Moretti of Top Rank shares publicly that not only did this man Ramirez have a busted orbital bone. Do you know how hard you have to hit a man? Roy Jones once told us to break an eye socket, but it was one of those inner orbital bones, a very serious injury that led to him seeing double. So in totality, does the boxing world owe Robeisy Ramirez an apology?
There aren't many apologies in boxing. It's a good reminder not to jump the gun calling someone a quitter. Of course, there will always be more examples of fighters from throughout history who did fight through broken orbital bones and made it to the final bell. Which is not a great, and in that case, it was probably worth it. Although his eye has literally never looked the same after that fight with Nonito. Like he has changed forever. At least not as a fighter, because he's still great, but as someone who once had a symmetrical face, he is no longer that.
Are you saying he now looks at two different things at once, like Tevin Farmer, or is that just out of bounds?
No. That's too harsh, Brian.
That's too harsh.
No,
all right,
I'm just saying it. Look, we as fans, as people who are just watching, have no idea what's going on inside these fighters' bodies. If they have to stop, then chances are there's a decent reason for it. And if they and also if someone truly does have that whatever personality flaw, character flaw as a fighter, not necessarily as a human being, to not want to go as far, push it to the limit, like go out on their shield like other fighters have, you usually see that over multiple fights as a pattern, right? You have, oh, you see your bust my jaw, Victor Ortiz, you have, who had so many different weird endings in his career. I mean, Pizzagate, everything. Coach Haas.
Different kind of Pizzagate. Yeah.
There's only one Pizzagate in the Bartholomew household. And it was.
What, Jojo Diaz? What are you talking about?
No, it was that unfortunate day that some vile fan, some thug, some dirty thug threw a slice of pizza in
that Southern California boxing hero, right? That man,
Vincent Victor Ortiz.
Hey, how about Coach Haas getting up in that ass right away?
Look, right away. That's why you will run through a wall for Coach Haas. Anyway, look, we're playing the hits here, but there's usually a pattern, and let's wait and see the pattern before we really call someone a quitter with that much venom, and in this case, it seemed that's a good enough injury for me to say, okay, I guess you're done.
Did you show up at that? I'm going back to 2019 when Spence and Porter fought in LA. Great fight. Did you go the day before to that media party at LA Live that I was at? Did I invite you to that?
I think I did. I remember being in there with you.
It was a restaurant, and there were like pro wrestlers and Chris Cyborg and Joseph Janik. Coach Haas was there, and I had like a 30-minute heart-to-heart on, over beers and edibles with that guy about how after Pizzagate he went to the hospital and spent a day there with Vincent. And I mean, he's a lovable man, Coach Haas, who shows up, by the way, in the UFC cage because he's one of the trainers of Tabitha Ricci, the UFC female fighter who is romantically involved with Irish prospect King Callum Walsh. So it's a small world, this fight game, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's pretty common for mixed martial artists to hire a boxing trainer to help with some striking, isn't it?
Sometimes.
Yeah. I guess maybe that era is done because they realized that just like wasting some money on Freddie Roach wasn't going to help you win in a
Freddie Roach was in GSP's corner for a little bit. You still see, remember Dewey Cooper? He's Francis Ngannou's like MMA trainer.
Also an outstanding member of the Mayweather Boxing Club community.
Yes. And also like the president of Team Combat League. So shout out to Dewey right there.
Thriving industry.
I don't want to say this because I like Joe Tess. He's such a good dude. When you interview and meet Joe Tess in person, Joe Tessitore, you're like, damn, he's a really nice guy. And, he used to do local sports in Hartford, Channel 3 when I was in high school and stuff. But dude, he's ever since he went to Monday Night Football for that run, he's so over the top theatrical. And now he's doing Monday Night Raw. And, wrestling fans are telling me he's like a natural at it. He's amazing. Well, Top Rank on ESPN hadn't been using him for a while in boxing. We'd seen the growing chemistry between Bernardo Osuna and Tim Bradley. And then Joe Tess came back and he's calling out Ramirez, like I said, for quitting. Granted, we didn't have all the information at that point. Should Joe Tess finish in boxing, or is that way too harsh?
How are you going to say that an announcer needs to finish in boxing? They all stick around way longer, and most of them. I mean, you're talking to the wrong person. I do not hold a single announcer other than Brian Campbell
Double kebab. Thank you.
In high regard. I think that otherwise it is a pretty much interchangeable position. I know that's not actually true, but I still don't care. I don't care about their life. I don't care about their people.
Okay.
I don't care about their career trajectories. Put someone else in there. Colonel Bob, any old moron will do for me. And
all right, no, we're not doing Colonel Blob. Okay,
he's
come on.
Dead. By the way, he caught a few bodies. But
do you remember that Pro Box TV stream he did with Paulie Malignaggi where he was like off the cuff on like 17 topics and people were like, what is happening here?
It takes a lot to get Paulie to back off and be like, hey, I don't know, Bob. Maybe we should.
He's like, maybe athletes didn't sleep with as many women in 2013 as we thought, Colonel Blob. Yeah.
Look, but as for Joe Testa, and this is a pattern that goes back, I think, to his Friday Night Fights days. He at moments that theatricality or this sort of, he gets swept up in the warrior tough man nature of the sport, which is something we celebrate and love about boxing, but it's a hard thing for the blow-by-blow announcer, particularly to pull off. If the fighter
just touch gloves,
exactly the moment I'm thinking of when he's yelling at the fighters in there, saying, "You just touch gloves. You just touch gloves." Yes. Who cares? Who cares, Joe? Let them do what they're gonna do. They're still fighting.
People talking about that ginger caterpillar above your upper lip.
What's up?
Distracting.
What's up?
Yeah, it is. By the way, Rafe, we have another question coming in from that down under bloke, that guy. Sorry to stop traffic, but he wants to know, what would it cost to get you to rename your podcast name CP Fresh Mart Rafe?
I don't know, Brian. You set the fee and I'll change the name.
He's like, it's for sale. Fago, whoever wants it. Okay, please come out here and put that liquid crack up in the cupboard for you. That wraps up the weekend in question right there. Let's go to some of the latest news. And according to Top Ranks, Carl Moretti, who was in Hamburg, Germany this week for that WBC conference that produced a lot of headlines, patting on the back, reaching around, suddenly Turkey's man of the year from the WBC. He's also paying them a lot of money under a sponsorship fee, by the way. But the good news coming from Top Ranks Carl Moretti is that Teofimo Lopez is serious about his intentions, and currently the fight is being negotiated. What fight? Teofimo moving up to welterweight to challenge Jaron Boots Ennis for his 147-pound title. To recap what balls Teo has, for as inconsistent, to be fair, as he can be, and Moretti addressed that in the interview with Boxing Scene's Tris Dixon, saying, we almost want to put him in there as hard as possible because we know that's going to bring out the best in him. Teo wanted the best at 35. He fought Loma and beat him. He wanted the best at 40. He fought lineal champion Josh Taylor and beat him. And now he's kind of arguably going up and reaching for the best welterweight of the moment. What can you say to this unpredictable man's moxie, spirit, and, the size of his bag to chase another big bag against another dangerous opponent?
I think I agree with Carl Moretti. We've seen this pattern pretty clearly with Teofimo Lopez throughout his career now, where he is an extremely talented fighter, and he fights to the level of his competition. Yeah. We've seen him rise to the level of being able to beat Loma, even if Loma, I think Loma really wishes he could have started that fight differently, but he didn't. And Teo made him do that. And then clearly changing the course of Josh Taylor's career from being a fringe top 10 pound for pound guy to, just doesn't even belong in the ring with Catterall.
Did you say fringe racist, or we forgot about that?
He was always, I don't know about fringe on that. Who knows? He gave the vibe. But anyway, look, we can't be out here.
We can't.
We can, but it feels a little bit like a double standard to criticize Josh Taylor's racist history, where we've got Teo he spent his entire last year doing just the really disgusting racist comments and not backing off them, looking for opportunities to double down. He thinks he's trying to talk his way into a fight. He thinks because he is slick. He's a pretty slick talker that he can talk his way out of it. It doesn't that I lost some fandom. Or I don't root for him as hard because of that, because it's just like, you don't need to go that far, Teo. Anyway, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't want
about
this.
New York
I
people?
still want to see this fight.
New Yorkers feel like they can say the N-word regardless of their skin color.
Look, that is unfortunately true. That is true of a lot of New Yorkers. But we're not all, some of us were raised right, and it's not and we're not just the ones who were like, yeah, because I stay to myself, so I know not to mix. No, it's like, you just know how to act and mix it around. You know what you're just raised right. What can you say?
Do you think Teo tried to calculatedly pull Bud into a fight by dropping the N-word, by not backing down on that?
Maybe he thought that's what he was doing. Sure, I do believe that, because I don't think that Teofimo Lopez.
Did he not watch when Angel Garcia got canceled by PBC for doing the same thing, right?
Look, it's 2024. Racism is popular on the internet.
Okay, racism aside,
popular.
This fight, it would be amazing.
Exactly. I still want to see this fight. I still want to see if Teo can do it. And it would help with all the flack that Boots has been taking recently about for whatever reason not agreeing to fight Virgil Ortiz in that Riad Season giant stacked undercard underneath Bivol better BF2 next February. It would be a good look in that regard. I almost wonder, given the timing, how real is this? Are we just trying to change the narrative as boxing promoters, or in our head fantasy booking boxing promoters who see, all right, well, both of these guys have had some bad publicity recently for various reasons, and it would be good to just put their name. Let's get some good talk. Let's give people a reason to be excited about seeing them fight, instead of focusing on who they're not fighting, why they're not fighting, and what dumb shit they may have said in the last 6 months.
Well, here's a key question in the business these days. I try not to lean on the old standard of, well, that's a difficult fight to make, opposite sides of the street. We're in a new era where Turkey's wallet, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's extended entertainment fund,
a lot of stuffing in that wallet,
can fuel anything. It's a Costanza wallet, basically. It can fuel anything. But Boots was run over by Turkey verbally when he did pull out of this, Virgil Ortiz negotiations. Do you think the way we're currently structured, that this would have to be a Riad Season fight, given the names and the cash that they would want to do this? Is that the only way Top Rank and Eddie Hearn, who are on separate networks, would come together? And would this have to be a pay-per-view because it's Boots' title? Would it have to be a DAZN pay-per-view? Would Top Rank allow that? Like, where are we with that in your eyes?
Well, look, I am not following daily the I'm not following daily the chatter, rumors about the negotiation, where Top Rank's broadcast deal is headed, if they're going, because it's over this year, right?
It's over at August of 25. It ends, and Bob Arum did say publicly in the last week that they will have a meeting with DAZN, but that he would prefer to have his package, if you will, over multiple networks.
Okay, that's great. Good for you, Bob. I hope it works out. I think that Riad Season money is the most likely way for a fight like that to happen, because it doesn't strike me as a huge pay-per-view event that's going to earn back all of the money that they'd have to guarantee the fighters to take on such a tough match. But I could see it being the only, I guess, the only chance that's not Riad Season there. And like, Turkey seems like he doesn't like to be told no, but if you come back to him, he still likes to get all of the love from the fans, that he'll get over, one fighter turning him down, not sort of bending to his spending power at every moment. If it means that the fans are still going to be like, man, Turkey, you're the best. You save boxing. We love you, right? As long as that keeps coming.
As Kevin Iole said, he could have the same impact as Muhammad Ali.
Perhaps, yeah. I guess I will wait and see about that.
Okay.
It may not be Kevin Iole's greatest prediction ever, but let's wait, and that's a wait and see for me. But look, I think that the other way I could see Lopez and Boots getting together is if Top Rank is on a new deal or trying to make nice on its current deal, and they or make nice for a potential new deal with the Zone or somewhere, and they say, all right, let's throw them a bone on the end of our deal here with ESPN, or we'll save this until late in 2025, which would stink, and do it as the way to kick off a brand new deal somewhere and play the classic boxing game of, oh, we just signed a broadcast deal. Let's put a bunch of exciting, great fights on. Let's make it seem like we really want to grow the sport. And then after you get them, after some of those checks start cashing, then you go back to business and you start putting on week-to-week slop.
All right, we ain't waiting for August of next year for this fight, okay? We need it a little bit earlier than that. I hope the negotiations go that way. By the way, I've given up my hardcore pass before many times, but they want you to get away from me or you're going to have to give up your hood pass, okay?
I hate to tell everyone, I think I had to turn in my hood pass a long time ago.
Dude, you live in like 8.5 miles at the moment. You're back. You're back. Okay.
I moved further up. I'm closer to Pontiac now. It's not.
Oh yeah,
you're up in the
same. Do you drink tap water in that area?
Yes. Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, good to know. What do you think should be? Now, look, boxing odds are usually bloated compared to MMA odds, for example, which I think MMA odds give you a better understanding of who will win the fight, where boxing odds are usually inflated to induce betting on one side. But if we were going just straight up, what do you think the odds should be for this fight? Would you have Boots as the favorite? And what do you think the odds would be?
Yeah, I think you still make Boots a favorite. Maybe not by a lot. I wouldn't have him at more than like a minus 220-ish type thing.
That's as far as I'd go too. Yeah. That's as far as I'd go.
Because, well, other than that, once you get into the minus 100s, and I'm not exactly I have not been running a sports book for that long. In fact,
you've been betting on your life for a long time with that soda addiction, to be fair. You know what I mean?
It's true, man. I was thinking about it before. I actually don't have any liquid crack in the house right now, and it's because Brian, it's sort of like the argument they're making against online sports gambling and online casino right now, or mobile gaming. That, well, the difference is there was some friction before. You had to go to a casino, you had to go to an OTB to engage in your addictive habit. So I try to add a little bit of friction to my liquid crack habit and make it.
You can just DoorDash that. I'm a former DoorDash driver. You can just DoorDash liquid crack.
You know how you clearly know how expensive that shit is. I'm old school enough. I will take my ass to the store and feed my own habits, whatever they may be.
Do you buy in bulk at a Costco or Sam's Club?
Never, ever. In fact, I pay a premium for gas station liquid crack just to punish myself for being an addict.
Yes.
And I lose a lot of money on that shit because it ain't working.
And time. You're taking off days with that stuff right there. I hope we get this fight. I can't wait to see it. But speaking of Turkey, speaking of the WBC conference in Hamburg, speaking of next week's Usyk versus Fury 2 showdown in Riyadh, which will also feature, I believe, a big, they're going to continue this rollout of the revised or rejuvenated Ring magazine. Turkey's making a lot of moves, dude. Like it's really starting to come together slowly. What the 2025 vision project 20, is that a Trump thing? Project 2025. I know Riad Season has a project 2030 plan. All I'm saying is, like, he's here, he's taking over, and one of the announcements this week is he honored Mauricio Suleiman's late father, the founder of the WBC, whose dream was to have a World Cup of Boxing style tournament. It looks like in 2025, WBC and Riad Season are partnering up for 4 separate divisional tournaments involving prospects, 4 different divisions, 32 fighters per division, everywhere from heavyweight, super featherweight, I think welterweight's in there, one other. But here's the deal, Rafe. The fighters have to be 26 years old or less. They have to have 10 to 12 pro fights or less. And their goal is to do this long and an incredible tournament, 8-round bouts leading up to 10 rounds in the finals. And in a lot of ways, it'll take those young fighters who are typically fighting nobodies match them tougher, faster, and really give them an opportunity to make an early name for themselves, probably make a decent bag since it's Riad Season promoted. And this is almost like Turkey, if you will, kind of building his own farm system. What do you make of this announcement? Is it just more sanctioning body jacking off, or is this part of the larger picture of what Turkey is trying to do? Because yes, there's always going to be sports washing elements mixed in there. No one's doing this for charity, but is he not organizing the sport and kind of bringing it all together?
If that kind of tournament comes off, it seems like it would be a great product. Who wouldn't, assuming they're able to get at least respectable rising young fighters to participate. I'm sure there will always be a handful of fighters who are sort of tapped for greatness already, who figure they don't need to go into that kind of deal. But then there's always a couple big names who say, screw it, I'm going to go in there and put my balls on the line, which would be awesome to see too. It's a really cool idea. I also think that it sounds like smart business. I mean, we talk about the money that Turkey has to splurge to make some of these big fights happen. I bet that he could get one of these tournament nights off for the cost of a co-main on a big Riad season card. It's something that it in a way, it's sort of a way to invest early in young fighters and get your hooks into them, build them into stars, and then probably depress their value later on when they actually become stars. Anyway, I hope it doesn't necessarily work out that way. But there's sort of you see how there's also a very cunning business angle to this if you can get it organized, and that's always the problem. Can you get it organized? If you can, look, it's a good product for the sport. It's worth trying. What we usually have is not so perfect that we shouldn't try out a few other models. And if this creates fighters who go on to really great careers and become stars off the backs of this crazy tournament, I'm down. Why not?
I'm kind of with you on that regard. So I'm not going to act like we know what the full picture looks like in 2025 with Turkey, but
can we call it the Kumite?
That would be badass. I'd be down with that type of blood sport support right there.
But they don't have to do that fight. It doesn't have to be no holds barred. But I would like it if they got the original Kumite referee in there, the bald guy in the brown robe.
Would you like them to box on that surface?
I would like that. Well, that or the BKB. What's that thing? The pit. The
pit.
Where big knockout boxing occurs.
Who had that first big knockout win in the pit? Was it
Rosado and Stevens?
Brian Vera, maybe?
I think Brian Vera had the knockout. I remember.
I don't know anymore. So look, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. But if the first 14 months of Riad season and Turkey's involvement in the sport was about big fights and big movie commercial trailers for these fights,
big drama show,
and super cards, hit and miss, by the way, it seems, the next 14 months will be more about organization, because Dana White and TKO Group, by extension, which owns UFC and WWE, continues to sort of tease that there could be an announcement coming in the next couple months and that they will be in this space in 2025. I saw comments in the last day from Mark Shapiro of TKO, who reiterated that it won't be, TKO and UFC, by extension, investing money. It would be, quote, them partnering with Middle Eastern interests and essentially, producing and running some form of, I don't know, not a league, but when you had Dana White telling the media just a few months ago in Ireland, look at me as the new HBO, whatever platform, whether it's DAZN, whether it's ESPN Plus, whether it's UFC Fight Pass, whatever platform Dana and Turkey end up coming together on, if that's the plan, maybe Turkey's takeover is bigger than we thought. Maybe it will be across multiple networks and not just DAZN where it currently is. And maybe we're getting to that point sooner than later, like real sooner, where you're either in or you're out against him in the boxing world. He now runs Ring Magazine, which we assume will be some rejuvenation of the ring rankings? Maybe could that lean to one title and one division? I mean, he seems to be in the pocket already of all 4 sanctioning bodies. So again, I don't know
He's in the pocket or they're in his pocket.
They're all reaching around. It's all the same. They're wearing the same pair of pants. All I'm saying is this. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know what we have to accept for it, to gain the organization, the structure, and the great fights. I don't know if other promoters are eventually going to be like, nah, F this. These guys aren't going to be around long. It's starting to look like they plan on being around long. Do you think Turkey, even with the concessions I'm talking about, because you have to give concessions, if we're going to shake his hand and say, bring your sports washing, but bring the great fights with it, and we'll all give you honorary awards and talk good about you. This is the guy that we've been prophetizing about in the boxing space for decades, saying the only way our sport's going to get organized is if somebody with a lot of money and power comes in. I never imagined it would be this much money or this much power, but it's starting to look like this is the guy. What are your 2025 expectations for I want to say for Turkey, but I really mean for boxing, because it feels like he's poised to take over the whole damn thing and kind of be the de facto commissioner of the sport. Will it work? Will 25 be an boxing going to the next level and being taken seriously and having a format and a platform? What's it going to look like moving forward? Because he's moving quick, dude. It's happening right now.
Well, look, I think that this tournament idea sounds like a lot of fun. I think it would be a great thing for the hardcore boxing fans. Nothing about the way it's been described, which is just me listening to you. It's not like I'm reading about this bullshit.
Sure.
But nothing about what you just told me makes me think it's going to be a huge casual fan event. I mean, we're talking about prospects mostly. And
that's one of the elements in this larger picture is what I'm saying,
Sure. And that could play that as a long game. That's very interesting. And I think I'd like to see how that plays out. There still is the issue. I think that, look, as long as Turki Al-Sheikh or some benefactor is willing to basically what would in the boxing business terms be literally considered waste money on fights or spend money on fights where he does not care about making his investment back, then everyone will work with you. We're all happy to get free money. Boxing been getting free money since the beginning. That's how if you think, oh, hey, Waddell Reed, come on, break me off. Sorry. I don't know you no more. I got your money though. Look, they're gonna, so if he's gonna keep spending and just wants and the only thing he wants back really is love for himself, because he's helping great fights be made and gets to be the celebrity, and the handful of boxing fans in the world out there thank him. A handful of them worship him. You could pay for Kevin Iole to kiss your ass. Like, Kevin, anyway, let me stop.
I can get a good look at it. Oh, sorry. That's
I could get a good look at a bodybuilder lady's ass.
Wow. Wow. Okay. We're live, folks. We're live. Thank you. Wow.
I've seen a lot of asses. Anyway.
So is he. Wow. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, look, it's not just the prospect tournament, in my opinion. It's like I said, it's the potential of, like, if the Dana White partnership comes together, I can't see Dana getting into it. Like, Dana, in my opinion,
who are their fighters? Who are their fighters for that? They're going to buy out the contracts of all of the fighters and the other promotion from the promoters, because those fighters are under contract. You can still you can cut deals with the other promoters one off, fight by fight, which is what they're doing now. I guess what is the benefit of hiring TKO, an outfit that hasn't proven much with boxing, other than they like to come out and Dana likes to come out and say that he can fix boxing every 3 or 4 years and get some press out of it. That's about it. He knows something that the rest of boxing hasn't figured out yet. Where are they going to have the fighters to consolidate? Again, you can make these great fights one off.
Great question.
But they're not. They're gonna, unless they're gonna buy out the contracts, they got to roll it up in one shot, and they have the money to do it. But why do it?
here's my offer to you, because no one knows yet. We don't know. I don't have inside info, but I'm trying to form together the pieces like everyone else. I don't think they're going to do what that original Reuters or New York Times article said and buy everybody out and form a league. But in some ways, they've already bought everybody out by sponsoring every sanctioning body and every major promotion, and by offering such big purses that, yes, even PBC has been a little at a time sending fighters over there. Carlos Adames will be on that card.
They might want to get in on that a little bit more. Get why the getting's good. I don't know why.
I think we're starting to get to the point where you're either with them or against them. It will be interesting to me to see if Top Rank ends up just going all in and joining, because we might be getting to the point soon where the biggest fights are on Riad Season platforms. And I don't know if it's just going to be DAZN. Like I said, what if Dana's true goal is to be the HBO of boxing, the elite platform of boxing, whether that's on DAZN, UFC Fight Pass, or ESPN Plus. I don't know what it's going to look like. But if they've already sort of set a precedent that you're either with us or you're against us, which would force, the two other of the five biggest promoters, PBC and Top Rank, to either be all in or all out, I still think you can, if you're a promoter, like Bob was saying, wanted to have his package spread around, you probably can still have a package, a prospect package with one channel. But I think we're getting to the point where the biggest fights are inevitably all pointing toward Riad Season, where Turkey's starting to form that full control. And I get what you're saying. What has Dana and TKO done? Well, they have proven that they can gain people's attention and trust from a promotional standpoint, that they can aggressively figure out a way to bring the money down that we're spending. And the one thing that Turkey's doing is he's just throwing cash at people. And that's why people are like, I don't know how long they're going to be in this. It's not sustainable.
I don't think that's necessarily true. It could be. It's not a huge investment for when you have, when your goal is to, spend Saudi oil riches to build up the profile of a nation or whatever. Like it's a marketing write-off for him.
It is.
And as long as he's willing to do it, the money is there. I don't think he's going to run out of money. He may run out of interest. He may not think it's worth his while at some point in time.
Well, his bosses may run out of patience is really it, right? For whatever they're trying to actually accomplish here. I'm just saying maybe there's some element where, partnering with Dana allows them to figure out a system to pay people a more manageable rate. I'm just saying, I think I'm starting to get the picture that they're building something big that you're either in or you're out on. So at the end of 25,
that shit would be so evil. Look, fair play if they can pull it off. But it's true. It is look, if a boxing promoter out there gets caught by a bait and switch, then that's kind of their fault, because they've been doing that game since the beginning. But like the idea, we're gonna overspend to get you to sign up, and then here's our new guy, Dana. He's gonna crack down on all y'all. You're gonna be making UFC wages now. Peace.
Well, not everybody. I'm talking about maybe the younger prospects. Maybe it's all part of the thing. But I don't know. I don't know what elements
UFC prospects get paid better than boxing prospects, right?
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
The one of the narratives I'd always absorbed about the difference between the structure of MMA through UFC and the sport of boxing is that the UFC middle class supposedly was more robust than there were more mid-level fighters making a decent living, getting fair, what sound like more fair paydays, even though it's still 15% or less of the overall profits.
Yeah.
But compared to boxing, where like you're yo, bro, I'll give you $1,000. Put on a pair of trunks. Talk to this doctor. My man Daniel Dubois is going to knock your ass out.
Yeah, I think on the lowest level, UFC certainly pays better. I think we can argue on the mid, and that's the problem. They don't really have a middle class. It's really everybody in the UFC is chasing that 1% to become on the championship level and start getting the real pay. And again, I don't know what parts of the Turkey package Dana and UFC would be involved in. If they are, I don't know if they're involved in this tournament or whatever.
Whole bird in their ass.
But a year from now, what do you expect we will be saying about Turkey? If you had any prediction on that, will we be happy with the experience because we're getting some level of organization over the next 12 months? We're consistently getting great fights. Maybe through the Ring magazine purchase, we're getting an elevation of the sport, not just through Ring, but through the whole idea of they're trying to take the sport and push it to the front and make it glamorous again. Kind of what we thought Al was trying to do in 2015 to some degree. It didn't work. They didn't commit to it. They ran out of money, whatever you want to say. Too many Hans Zimmer, too many railings on the stage.
They better call Hans Zimmer, man. Otherwise, how else can you project glamour without entrance music from Hans Zimmer?
I mean, are you confident that this is going to work in December of 25 when we get inside the box again and we look back on the year that was? Will we be more likely to lean to those people that are like, this guy Turkey, give him all the awards? We have what we never thought we could have in this sport: unity, structure, and a lack of bullshit. Or will there always be bullshit? Will the Turkey experience be equal love and hate? What do you expect?
I think the organization that you're talking about, whatever it ends up looking like, is unlikely to come together quite that fast. It could be very rapid. I mean, even 2 years would be extremely fast to create something that unified. It seems like a lot to expect. I do think I do expect to be pretty happy with the continuation of Riad's. Look, I say that if Riad season continues as it has been, or as it looks like it might be doing, with Turkey getting more ambitious in trying to put on flashier cards, more exciting like more out of the box main events, things that just seemed unreasonably not realistic to boxing fans just a few years ago, in terms of, although they could never fight even though they're in the same weight class or just one weight class apart, because they're on different sides of the street. That's not happening for another 5 years. Like, if he speeds up that, but continues basically as with the same model of just overspending for big events, what's wrong with that? I'd say thank you, Turkey, for that. I mean, that's a good deal. I'll take that deal, especially if they're going under market for pay-per-view events like they're talking about for February 22nd. These are all things to like. I guess I wouldn't expect to see the level of organization come together. But again, they don't need it if they're willing to just keep spending. And honestly, boxing is expensive when you're trying to make money off of it. But when you don't need to make money off of it, when you have all, when your budgets are operating on a much different scale, then it can feel like a drop in the water. I mean, you would look at the broadcast deals that boxing would sign for in recent years, whether it's Top Ranks, ESPN deal, PBC with Fox. They're in the hundreds of millions for the whole thing. That's like the cost of one NFL game. So, and I think that in matters of scale, Saudi money is more like NFL money. So they can keep spending all this on boxing year after year without having to roll everyone up, keep everyone happy, keep paying everybody whatever they want, and just if the sports washing goal is to have everyone say, hey, these guys are the bomb. Like, I love working with them. This is great for the sport. I think they're already doing what they need to do there. I don't know if they need to do a whole lot more. And trying to get actually in control of boxing and then run it on their own, that doesn't work out for anyone. Then you're buying all the headaches.
True, but what if you just build the platforms that the promoters inevitably look around and go, if we want to make the money from them, we've got to fight on their platforms. Again, I don't know if that's going to be one or multiple. Maybe ultimately Turkey and Riad Season are funding and running DAZN and ESPN Plus. If they're going to stay in boxing, who knows? I mean, there's still a lot we don't know, but I think it's the same equation as always when you follow boxing. You're either an extreme optimist like me or an extreme cynic like you and most of boxing Twitter, where I've made the decision for as much as I can to embrace this and see where it goes, because remember back in 2012, 13, 14 in the every other year theory, when it was the other year, when it was 2012 and 14, two of the worst years in modern boxing memory. You wrote 2014, the year of suck story on Grantland. That's epic. We would never, ever, ever would have thought we'd be here with this chance for whatever UNITY is coming, Queen LATIFAHE Khmer. You know what I'm saying? I mean, was there a point in the Queen's run where you would have hit that?
I know because I listened to that song and I saw Vinny from Naughty by Nature grab her booty. He was nasty. And what happened to him? She punched him dead in his eye. She might have broke the orbital. Yeah, exactly. You know how hard you got to hit Vinny from Naughty by Nature to break his eye socket?
Yo, Tretch was legitly cool back then. Like, I feared him and loved him at the same time.
He did. He wore the stocking cap early before do-rags became just sort of everyone in rap was wearing them. He was just wearing like straight out of the supermarket, got the stocking over his head. You know, he was swole. But also just such a good, quick, like fast flow, but underrated rapper.
I wish everyone that's listening to this
Feel Me Flow. Such a fun song to listen to in the summertime.
Indeed. I don't know. Maybe it's 4 people listening right now, but I wish all of us could go with good friends. I love your daddy to his New York
Avon
City.
honkies are the craziest.
To his New York City residence, which you happen to be raised at, to see the relic that is your 90s New York honky hip hop bedroom, which the walls are just covered with underground rap. I mean, will that shrine be kept that way forever?
I don't know about forever, but it's still there today. That's a pretty good long run. I mean, that room's been the same for 20, 30 years now.
Amazing stuff right there. To close on this turkey season and the new boxing life that we're about to endure, will you ever go to Riyadh for a massive fight, whether as a fan or with me to podcast at some Radio Row where they're throwing stupid money at journalists? I mean, would you get on that plane for Usyk Fury 2 if all things were perfect?
Yeah, I would get on that. Look, all things perfect means someone is paying for me to go. I'm not coming out of pocket for that. But other than that, yeah, somebody, if somehow they wanted to pay you and you're like, yeah, but you gotta hook my man's up over here. I hope you got someone for him too. Then 1, thank you for throwing that oop. And 2, sure, I would be happy to do that. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be interesting to see the country. I've never been to Saudi Arabia. And yeah, why not? And I know it would be a fight I want to see at the end.
Why don't you just come with me in a couple weeks when Ryan Garcia has a fight with a Japanese kickboxing guy and we just tour Tokyo together like 2 platonic men? You know, it'd be
like
great.
A couple of Paul brothers, right?
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
What's the worst that could happen out there?
Oh,
right?
boy. All right.
What could we get into that would be bad for our careers?
Yeah. Let's get into the end of the show, which is the weekend to come. And do you care, Rafe Bugs, about the box that will come at us in a few minutes? Are you ready for this? Okay. Shout out to Arturo, by the way, from London. He's Mexican from London, this guy, okay? Over there at AZ Ray Videos. That's my guy. I met him once in London, okay? Shout out. Rafe, are you ready to unpack this weekend schedule?
Let's unload the box.
All right. It starts tonight, Thursday, down the road from you in Flint, Michigan. Raul Marquez and Al Bernstein on the call for DAZN. Ardriel Holmes Jr. and Edwin Jr. Jimenez. 10 rounds junior middleweights. It's a Dimitri Salita Big Time Boxing USA card. And PBC's Joey Spencer is in the co-main. Will you watch? Do you care?
No shit. Joey Spencer's from Livonia down the street also. Look, I appreciate what Dimitri Salita is doing and putting on pretty good regular club shows here in the Flint, Detroit area. And it seems like it'll develop some prospects. It's just good for the sport. It's good for the region. So I care on that level, but I ain't gonna watch it.
Okay, all right. I mean, not even for the Maravilla. Look at me talking about our Campione.
Maravilla.
How about for the Diamante and Uncle Al combination? I don't know if Corey Erdman's going to be there. That's normally the 3-man team, but Erdman was in.
He's right over the border though.
Erdman was calling some other fights last night. I don't know where, or I don't know. He's all over the place.
He puts in work, man. You got to.
He did the Hitchens fight in Puerto Rico. That's what
I heard him. I heard the Erd.
Dude, I gotta say, we've been knowing Corey Erdman since the beginning, right? A boxing blogger back in the day, boxing scene.
One of the truest hardcores of the hardcore.
Dude, he's insanely hardcore. He told me he wrote like a paper in 4th grade about like Harry Greb or something. I'm paraphrasing, but like I'm serious about that. I gotta say, dude, I worked with him on that UFC show in Ireland. He's really good at play-by-play. Like he's really come far, dude. I'm happy for that guy. All right. I know you hate everybody, but I'm happy for that guy.
I agree.
All right. All right. Yeah. What do you think about Lazy Bed's comment here before we get into more, Bog?
Okay. That's too harsh. No,
there's blood in the water.
That's too harsh.
Also tonight, also on DAZN from Hamburg, Germany, where the WBC convention is, Murad Aliyev and David Brito are in a 10-round heavyweight main event, but 3 fights down on the card. We know how much your 2 favorite things, women and boxing, coming together.
Don't mix like, no, sorry.
Ashley Gonzalez will defend her WBC junior women's bantamweight title against Mary.
Ashley or Asley?
Asley. Look, I'm reading off of Dan Raphael's Fight Freak United boxing schedule. He obsesses, so we don't have to.
Aren't there some dog pound songs using like as with the 2 double Z's? Anyway,
when you say dog pound, I say Yusuf Mack. Okay, that's
that's Doghouse USA, my man.
Okay. Will you care? Will you watch? No, right?
No, I don't think so.
All right, get ready for this. You're not ready for this. Also tonight, a lot of boxing on a Thursday night from Topanesh, Washington, in the U.S. Get ready for the platform. You're not ready for this, Rafe. On BLK Prime pay-per-view, baby. Back. We're back. Shady Gamauer and Devontae McDonald, 10 rounds super middleweights. Are you buying the pay-per-view?
I'm not buying the pay-per-view, but I want to know who Shady Gamauer is. What kind of name is that? That's a BoxRec classic.
That's a Detroit. You know what I mean? Is he the real Slim? No. Let's go to Friday, Orlando from DAZN. This is a Jake Paul MVP Promotions most valuable promotions prospect series. I think Dan Canobio on the call. Antonio Vargas and Winston Guerrero, 12 rounds for the vacant interim WBA bantamweight title. Do you care?
I liked Antonio Vargas, the great actor who, he had a great voice. Oh man, he played like a pimp in "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker" with the goldfish in his platform shoes. Classic scene.
Indeed. Also on this card, Javon Wana Walton, the next MVP prospect, will have a 4-rounder. Hey, Denier Paro, the Cuban heavyweight who's trained by Bob Santos, will also be back in a 10-round bout against Walter Burns. And good-looking prospect Hendry Cedeno on the undercard. Will you watch? Do you care? Friday night.
You said a good-looking I love to look at a good-looking prospect.
Beautiful guys. Indeed.
I have guys.
Let's go over to Saturday. Carbonia, Italy. Is Lenny Bowtie on this card? This will be on ESPN Plus. Cristobal Lorente will defend his European featherweight title against Francesco Grandelli. 12 rounds. Do you care?
I gotta say no.
Dude, there's a lot of Shiat this weekend. Let's go over to Saturday, Santa Ynez, California. First of all, tell me about Santa Ynez.
It has a casino in it because I know it shows. It used to show up on BoxRec all the time.
Not Indio, not Commerce. What is it?
Yeah, I think it's Northern California because I never got to go there.
Oh, so it's not Tai Chi Palace?
Where's that?
It's somewhere in the desert. I don't know. In the main event, this will air on UFC Fight Pass, by the way.
Shout out to Morongo though.
Shout out to that casino. Sadruddin Akhmedov against Rafael Igbokwe, 10 rounds. Middleweights. No, you don't care. You don't.
Oh, I mean, one of my close friends, his last name is Ibokwe.
Shout out.
And this guy's got my first name and my friend's last name, so I care.
Speaking of Winchell's, like, what would you order if you went right now?
At Winchell's Donuts?
Yeah, in LA.
Oh, ham and cheese croissant. The Southern California ham and cheese croissant at the donut shop is the best in the world.
Is it run by Pinoy's?
No, I don't know about Winchell's, but the sort of stereotype, which is based in a lot of reality, is that Cambodians run the donut business in Southern California.
Shout out to those people. By the way,
there's a great story, and I think they made a documentary about it. About they created the Cambodian donut shop owner created the pink donut box, and then spread that out through, as the community grew, as he helped more people start donut shop businesses in different neighborhoods. Then the box spread it throughout the region. Anyway, it's a well-documented history.
By the way, the last 2 fight cards I told you are Friday night, not Saturday. Thank you for the Cambodian donut history. And now, Rafe, I will hit you with also on Friday and also on DAZN. Dude, DAZN has a lot of bootleg boxing, does it not? Like a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot. Look, one thing, DAZN has not, they're not skimping on quantity. You're going to be able to find some fights there.
Hey, DAZN, call me. I'll call these bad fights. Let's go. This is in Houston. What is this? Red Owl Boxing at the Red Owl Nest. It's
Red
going to be.
Auerbach?
Yeah, Red Auerbach will be there. Showbox alum Marquise Taylor, who's one of those guys who's a spoiler, low knockout total, but goes in there with volume and out slicks people. He'll be taking on Ivan Panzik in an 8-round middleweight main event. But here's the key. Sean Porter was an announcer on this series earlier in the year. He met Marquise Taylor. They hit it off. Taylor moved his training camp to Vegas. Sean Porter is now the head trainer. And Friday night on DAZN, he'll be making his debut in the corner. Do you care about that?
Will Sean Porter be doing the forehead to forehead moment of silence with his fighter the way his father, Kenny Porter, used to do with him in the moments before that first bell? That was one of that was a great moment. That moment in boxing when they're swaying back and forth, father and son. I mean, I don't know if you could do that with a fighter who's not your flesh and blood, but who says
we have seen situations where there was like a female fighter and then the trainer she's sleeping with, right? Oh, like Christy Martin's husband used to train her before he shot her, right?
No, not exactly like that.
Yeah,
we haven't seen that exact one play out too many times since then.
So Sean Porter, do you remember after Porter lost to Crawford and abruptly retired that there was like this rumor that he was mad that his dad threw in the towel, so he got him back by retiring? I once asked Sean if that was true and he laughed at me, but that was pretty wild, right?
That seems like an unusual way to take out that. I mean, why not just get a new trainer if that's the,
But you were surprised as I was when Kenny stopped that fight, correct?
I was surprised, yeah.
All right. Also on this card, unbeaten 140-pound prospect and son of the Diamante, Giovanni Marquez will take on Christian Dominguez in an 8-round welterweight bout. I happen to be friends with the Marquezes. I called Gio's pro debut on Showbox. Have you been following the Giovanni Marquez experience at all?
Early on when he was, did he end up fighting in the Olympics, or he was close to being on the U.S. Team USA during the amateurs in like 2020? Well, COVID messed the whole thing up. Anyway, look, I'd watch him fight, but I ain't going.
All right. These guys talking about your pink box talk. You were getting a little outside the lines.
I stay inside the box, especially.
Also, no, that's in Australia. Ain't nobody watching that. Let's go to Saturday. Tijuana, Mexico, ESPN Plus. Jaime Munguia is back in the main event against Bruno Sarache. Super middleweights, 10 rounds. Will you be turning into the plus for this?
Yeah, why not? I mean, a get well fight from Munguia. He's always been fun to watch. He'll probably, if it's worth checking out, it's worth taking a look at, a quick peek. It probably shouldn't last long. If it does last long, either if somebody matched that poorly, or he's got a bigger problem on his hands. But I like Jaime. He's a good guy.
I like
Who called him Jamie Munguia. What was it? Jamie Mongoya. Some announcer said that back in the day. Shout out to you.
Alan David Picasso in the co-main event. Hopefully he's going to paint himself a masterpiece. And we also,
I think I want to know his whereabouts on the night of that Marissa Mayer fight.
Michaela, what was
that Yahoo CEO, man? I cannot get it right.
Speaking of CEOs in your city, how about how about this guy Mangione, right?
Oh, wow. I was about to ask you, don't you go into New York early on Monday mornings?
I do. Something? It was not me though. I did not have the pink hands. Yes.
Also, because it's a little convenient how they just found him with all the stuff. Like, maybe there was somebody else. Maybe, I don't know. You were there. You were in the city at the time, I'm guessing.
I was not there. Thank you. Let's go to Saturday. Monte Carlo, Monaco. We haven't been there since Triple G, right? Also on DAZN.
Were you there for that? I wasn't in Monte Carlo.
I wasn't there. Bernie Barmersall was. Shout out to him. The former unified 122-pound king Murajan Akhmadaliev will be back 12 rounds against Ricardo Espinoza for the vacant interim junior featherweight title at 122. Maybe this is the final step for us to get Inoue versus MJ Akhmadaliev. Will you be watching Saturday?
I'll check it out. I mean, I was once pretty high on MJ. Fill me in. Where the heck? What happened to him? Has he been hurt?
He got upset and he lost his title,
and then he just disappeared for a minute.
Yeah, and then he's been back, and then there's been rumors of Inoue. I haven't been following it that closely, but we'll see what happens there. Also on Saturday, and broken record, also on DAZN. Dude, DAZN's got like 7 fight cards in the next 48 hours.
What value?
Yeah, this is from Ontario, California. Alexis Rocha versus Raul Curiel, 12 rounds welterweights. Dude, Rocha makes fun fights, does he not?
Yeah, wasn't he one of the prospects that a couple years ago we were badgering Oscar for poorly matching because he got upset?
Probably.
I'm just saying, this happens. It's boxing, Athletes sleep with a lot of women.
Co-main event is unbeaten Charles Conwell at 154 against Gerardo Luis Vergara. John Scrappy Ramirez also on this card in a junior bantamweight tilt against Ephraim Bowie. And Marlene Esparza will also be back in a 10-rounder against Arlie Mucino. This must be a Golden Boy card.
Will she call out the recently retired Seniesa Superbad Estrada and say, we ain't done with you. Fight ain't over, Frank Cappuccino style. If
she does,
you want her to get personal beyond that? Is that what you're suggesting?
If she does, will they talk about it on the Mannix and Mora pod?
Interesting question. What if look, Marlon, if you really want to make this happen, you might have to name her family in the ring too. Get him to talk about it.
Wow, call out Mannix. Wow. Wow. Okay. Also on Saturday from Liverpool, England on the Peacock. Dude, it's on the cock. Where we got boxing on the cock. It's Natasha Jonas defending her unified IBF WBC. Oh, sorry. This is a unification against Ivana Habazin. This will be for the IBF. And
I remember that, bro.
And wow.
Sorry. My bad.
Studied abroad. I married her. For the IBF WBC women's welterweight title in the co-main event, Lauren Price will defend her WBA women's welterweight title against Bexy Mateus. Rafe, again, combining women in boxing, what can go wrong in your life? Are you going to be on the cock on Saturday? You're always on the cock, right?
Oh my God. I may not be able to watch this one, but I'll give it a try.
All right. I didn't think we'd go to Sunday, but here we are. Sunday from Gibraltar, bro. The Rock, right? Gibraltar.
Nice.
And also on DAZN, Dillian White. Remember him? He's got a 10-round heavyweight tilt against Ebenezer Tete. You've got Thomas, the one-man party, Cardi, the Irish heavyweight in the co-main event. And guess who they dusted off from the cruiserweight bullpen? Mike Perez will be taking on Israel Doofus.
Israel Doofus, the Instagram trainer model, whatever guy. Yeah.
Will you be back? I mean, cruisers they were made for box. Wasn't Mike Perez part of the WBSS cruiserweight tournament back in the day?
I think maybe in the first, he lost that first fight. So his move down to cruiser never really worked out for him for whatever reason.
I was there when he
trying to get through this without talking about Mago, but go for it.
I just was about to. You knew me too well. All right. I was at that Mago fight. That was rough.
So was I. What was in the undercard or something?
You're right. What was the main event that night?
No, it wasn't Triple G.
Was that the night?
Was that Mikey? Was it Mikey?
Mikey Garcia fought Juan Carlos Burgos
or Burke? I don't think I would have bothered going to Burgos.
One of those Mikey Garcia nights, I think it was Burgos.
Not
After
Salido?
the fight, I went out drinking with Karen Mulvaney and Andres Ferrari.
No, I love that guy.
And we got like 6 whiskey shots deep. And the next morning, You know that old trick, pull over and puke. You know that trick, right? On the New York parkways. Yeah, that was me. Never forget that. That was the night I decided that I'm not man enough for a whiskey life. I can't live that life. All right.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. You're missing out on the life.
Shout out to Magomed, just the same. I think that's it. I think that's all we got for this week. Yeah, that's it.
You think has Ebenezer Tete has him and his tetes beaten anyone since he got knocked out by Daniel Dubois?
You got beat with a tete with tetes. There you go. Tattoo on tete.
Who's gonna have bigger tetes in that fight?
Definitely Benavidez, right? And shout out. What was that guy Wilder knocked out? The ex-quarterback. You remember that guy?
Oh, Kelvin Price. No. He's the ex-basketball player.
Boobs Brazil. You remember that
that's
guy.
right. What, was it Colorado State or something?
Yeah. All right. We got 60 seconds left in the show to ask your questions to Rafe. Let's hear from Lazy Bet. He wants to know, Rafe. He says, I don't know a lot about modern boxing, but as a Clevelander, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Abdullah Mason. Did you see Abdullah Mason kind of get humbled in that last appearance, right? Kind of look a little bit human in the prospect rise.
He seemed like he just got a little excited, a little reckless. It's the talent was still there. Like, man, it was fun to watch. It was partly because it was such a crazy fight, but man, there was also some of the speed, the counters, he was getting a little ahead of himself clearly. But as young as he is, you'd think that he can tighten that up and be a fighter worth watching. Shoot.
Indeed. I thought Triple G was getting in that ass. Indeed. All right, there you go. No more jokes left. That's all we got. Wow, we brought the box. We brought it live. What an experiment. Do you think we should continue live or pre-taped in the future?
I think live. I mean, we get the good questions. It seems like the people are lining your pockets. Why not?
They might line yours eventually too. It might happen. I know you have a long history of not getting paid for podcasts.
I take payment in kind.
Yeah. Thank you, Lazy Bed, for joining. Thank you to our boy, by the way, Arturo from Mexico. Thank you to so many guys.
That guy from down under with the good.
That guy really was an MVP of
with
today.
The good philo questions.
That's Rafe Bugs on BC. At Rafe Bugs on the socials. Of course, you can still buy his books. He is a multi-time New York Times best-selling author. 2 and 2, McSorley's and Me and My Father and Kriegel. Pacific Rim's great book about Filipino basketball, about to hit its 15th anniversary?
That's right, in June 2015. That's
and also basketball, a love affair.
Amen to that.
Jackie McMullen,
the Hall of Famer.
All right. Rafe, do you have anything else you want to tell the people?
We out, man. Peace.
Okay, that's it. Peace in the Middle East. Shout out to Uncle Turkey. Let's see where boxing takes us in the next year. Maybe we'll be back next week. Maybe not. That's up to Rafe, okay? Christmas mailbag edition? I don't know. Either way, we are out.